The Corkin Entertainment Show is brought to you by Podmatch, the ultimate platform designed to connect podcast hosts with prospective guests effortlessly. Are you a podcaster looking to elevate your show to new heights? Or perhaps you're a guest hoping to share your story with a broader audience. Whatever your podcasting goals are, we have the perfect solution for you. Podmatch simplifies the entire process of discovering guests for your show or finding podcasts to feature your expertise. Now imagine a platform where you can easily match with like-minded creators tailored specifically to your niche. With Podmatch, you can effortlessly network with influencers and thought leaders, all while staying true to your podcast vision. There are a multitude of ways that Podmatch can help you grow your brand. You can be part of a thriving community of podcasters and potential guests. Engage, collaborate, and grow together. If you're ready to experience these fantastic benefits for yourself, we invite you to join Podmatch today. Head over to www.joinpodmatch.com/Corkin Entertainment and sign up right now for only $6 a month. That's right, you heard me right, $6 a month. Join the Podmatch family today and watch your podcast soar to new altitudes. Thank you for tuning into the Corkin Entertainment Show, and happy podcasting. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corkin Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran. Happy Thursday. Happy last episode of June. Here we are. It's crazy to think, but it is what it is. Time's just flying by. Before we start the show today, I always love to talk a little bit about what's going on in the community before we begin. And there's a big event that's coming up here July 4th. It starts on July 4th. July 4th to 5th. This is New Maritime Music Festival 2025. This is a big event. This happened last year, and it was a big success for New Maritime, and they're going to do it again. So this is on Eventbrite. Go on Eventbrite, New Maritime Music Festival 2025. About the event, year one was so amazing that we had to do it again in 2025, but this time twice as big. July Talk, The Trues, Winter Sleep, Joe Plaskett, Emergency, Goldie Boutier, Jesse Roper, Grand Theft Bus, The Motor League, and Kill Chicago. July 4th to 5th, 2025, we will once again take over Newcastle Boulevard for 2 nights of amazing live music. Early bird tickets are all gone, but scoop up tier 1 tickets before prices increase. It's a 19+ event. So definitely, guys, be sure to get your tickets for that. That's a big event, becoming a yearly tradition. And definitely be sure to check that out if anybody's looking for something to do. Nice little July 1st, or well, not July 1st, but the first week of July, start of all the amazing things, because we got lots of things. Irish Fest, Rock and Roll Festival, Sunny Corner Days, Beta Vin Day. Yeah, it's going to be a great summer. It's going to be a great summer. For those of you guys who are here for our guest, Alan Halas, and you don't know what I'm talking about, okay, we'll move on to our guest. So speaking of music, I'm excited about our guest today. Alan Halas. He is a music writer, founder of Breaking and Entering, which is an independent music website. He currently works full-time writing for On Milwaukee, which is Milwaukee's largest digital outlet. Great conversation with him. We talk about a lot of things, getting your foot into the industry, you name it, we talk about it. It's a great chat. And so if you like the episode, leave us a nice little review, and all that good stuff. And so without further ado, I got nothing more to say. I was going to say something, I don't know what it was. Probably just to enjoy the show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast today. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Corkin Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran, and today I am joined by a icon in the Milwaukee music scene. He's a jack of all trades when it comes to music. He's the founder of Breaking and Entering, which is an independent music website, and he's now a full-time writer for On Milwaukee, which is the city's leading digital publication. Very excited to have him on here today. Alan Halas. Alan, how are you today?
Hey, thanks for having me. That's a big intro to live up to say icon, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that's one way to put it. I mean, like, you've done so much in the industry, and you seem humble, which is good. That's what I like about people like you is when they're humble, they're down to earth, and they're not like, yeah, of course I'm an icon. Treat me like one.
Yeah.
But you've done so much. I mean, can you kind of tell me a little bit about how you started out in the music industry and some of the experiences and stuff like that? Because I mean, you're multifaceted too. I mean, you're not just um, a musician and stuff like that. You're also a producer, promoter, content creator, all that stuff. How did you
Yep.
kind of get started in all this?
Yeah, so really the Reader's Digest version of it is I used to produce music back in the day, like we're talking now 15 years ago, which sounds pretty crazy to think about. Used to produce music and I was connected to a lot of Milwaukee musicians. Coming out of high school, going into college, I was gonna start a podcast with a friend, and we were gonna call it Breaking and Entering. And eventually, it was gonna move to student radio, which is what happened. So it started as a podcast in 2009. I wish that we would have held on to it for that long because we would have, had thousands of episodes at this point. But we eventually became a student radio show for a couple semesters, and then this was like the blog era of discovering music. So we had a website. Once my friend broke off because he was too busy with school, I ended up starting the website and showcasing Milwaukee artists and people that I was friends with, people that I knew, and honestly discovering new artists myself that way. So I've kept that going since 2014. It's been an independent music website. And then during the pandemic, I left my day job and started writing full time for a magazine in Milwaukee. And then the last 2 years now, basically, I've been at On Milwaukee, which is, like you said, the largest digital publication. So that is the long story, very abbreviated, but that includes everything of like also putting on concerts and learning how to do that, booking shows and learning how to like advertise and promote and do all of the things that come along with music outside of just producing music too. So I've been in and around the music scene for now 15 years.
It's such a huge transition when you go from it's one thing to be a musician and it's one thing to be on stage and stuff like that. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes and all. So once you start doing that behind the scenes work and everything, it kind of, I'm sure there's lots of people who as soon as that happens, they almost want to like run for the exits and go, I can't believe I kind of got in and over my head, whatever. Did you ever have a point where you thought that like maybe this isn't what I want to do, or did you always know like no matter what, I'm gonna make this work?
I have a preference to be behind the scenes more often than not, honestly. For the most part, I never really felt overwhelmed, but I also felt like there was a point where I didn't know if this thing was going to catch on, right? Because the internet is huge and I remember back when I was like, oh, we got 100 views today on the website, like feeling like I was doing something really great. And so continuing to push myself and to try different things. And for sure, I definitely had like moments where you're like, what am I doing? I mean, that comes with having any kind of business outside of your 9 to 5 too. So I definitely had plenty of moments like, what am I doing here? But I don't think never necessarily overwhelmed, just a lot of feeling of like, what do I have to do to, continue to grow this thing?
That's good. That's a really really good mindset to have. And it's to me that's critical to have a mindset like that. And for some people it can be they love music, they love the art or just art in general, and they want to keep on doing it, but then when they pursue it as a career, it almost becomes like now I'm kind of scared because this is something that I love so much and I hold so dearly to me. It's a huge part of who I am. And now I almost don't want to be associated with it because this is my job. And now it's like, oh, it just feels like work. Um, so there's lots of pros and cons to that. Do you
Mhm.
ever obviously you must have like lots of people who will come to you for advice and stuff like that. whether no matter what they're pursuing, if it's music, if it's content creation, or whatever the case may be. What's kind of like the one piece of advice, or maybe like the most common question that those people will come to you for, or just some sort of common mistake that maybe the youngins will make, so to speak.
Yeah. There's a lot. People ask me for feedback all the time, and I try whenever I can. Most often than I'm pretty busy, so I don't have time to necessarily like give them all feedback. But I think the biggest thing that honestly I get from a lot of especially newer artists is they don't know how to necessarily reach the media the right way. They don't necessarily know how to pitch their music, and all of the things that that entails. And that goes beyond having like just having a great song and having a great video or something like that. Like it really does require having an electronic press kit, an EPK for short. It requires having, you know, a good online presence, being able to clearly like communicate what you want to communicate about your record too is something that's big. And I think that there's a lot of artists that really make great stuff in the studio or they're an amazing performer live. But when it comes to that X factor of being able to get that into the hands of the media and get them in touch with the media so that they'll write about them and publicize them, they fall short a little bit. So I mean, I think that there's room for growth there a lot of times. And the biggest thing is really just learning how to establish that relationship with the media and properly like get your music out there is the biggest thing.
Getting your foot in the door is the probably the biggest challenge of
Hmm.
not just the music industry but also the entertainment industry. It's competitive. It's I don't want to say ruthless, but it's one where there's a lot of people who are trying to make it in
Hmm.
to that industry, and sometimes they can only pick one, and it's something that it's not a knock on you, it's not a knock on anything that you're doing or how talented you are. It's just a matter of this is how it is. We got a lot of people who want to pursue this,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's gonna go, sometimes it's gonna not,
Yeah.
or it won't. It's gonna not. I mean, is there one moment throughout your career that kind of stands out as maybe like describing that, where you're gonna deal with rejection, you're gonna deal with um, things, you don't get a certain gig that you want, like
Yeah.
it's that's the whole part of balancing the love for it versus it's a job and you gotta, it's just like a regular what do they say, art is a white collar job with a blue collar attitude. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a really great
that's
way to
it.
put it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
someone
that's a
said that one
really
time. I said that's perfect. So, is there one moment in particular that kind of stands out to you?
I would say just to kind of build off of what you were talking about too, like I think, and also going back to one big mistake that a lot of artists make, especially in my city in Milwaukee, like we are a smaller market, but too many people want things too much too fast kind of thing. Like they don't necessarily try to build or wait for their opportunity. It's a lot of like, what can you do for me now? And I think the biggest thing for me has always been like being able to establish relationships with people and not necessarily asking for, you know, that immediate return on that, right? Like if I'm talking to, you know, a promoter or somebody that runs a venue, like I would much rather actually get to know that person first and develop a relationship with that person, or at least introduce what I'm doing to them. But then eventually ask for that, you know, sometime down the line, I'm going to say, hey, I'll want a show from this person, or I'll want to set up something with you, or it could be an interview, or it could be whatever, right? A lot of artists really right away want to jump in and say, hey, I got this song, you should play me on the radio, or you should, you know, write about me in, you know, your publication. And like sometimes there's beauty in patience and they don't necessarily see that too. So specific moments where I've had to tell people no, I feel like there's been a lot of people that just they'll hound you and maybe necessarily like not even like emails, it'll be like Facebook messages or Instagram DMs now, and being able to tell people like I will check out your music, but on my time when I get a chance to do it, you know, like sometimes it's just kind of breaking it to them that way. Like slow and steady can win the race.
Yeah, like I got like 30 different calls and I'm only here for like 3 hours. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't get to absolutely everybody. Even pitching shows or pitching things, there's hundreds of submissions like for like TV networks and studios. And
Hmm.
just because they don't get back to you in a year, sometimes it's not even they saw your idea and they didn't want to go through with it. Sometimes they didn't even get to you. Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
we just have so many submissions, we can't like it was just hard for us to get around to absolutely every single one of them. So it could be like 3 years down the road and then you finally get a call for this TV show that you pitched, or movie that you pitched, or a music video that you want to produce, or whatever the case may
Hmm.
be. And at that point you probably like forget about it. You're like, oh wait, I submitted that. Like that's it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting how that works. But if you're passionate enough about it, I think that will fuel you more than anything. So
Yeah.
kind of talking a little bit about the Milwaukee music scene. I say you're an icon. You can take that for what it is, or you cannot. I can tell you're like, I wouldn't say I'm an icon, but
Yeah.
for what you've done, I'd say yeah. I mean, like, would you be on the same level as a Michael Jackson if it came to Milwaukee or whatever? Um, but is it a small town? Are you in a small town? Sorry, I dropped my thing. Are you in a small town? Like, how quickly does word spread where you are?
Well, it is definitely a small market mentality here of there's only a few 100,000 people. We are 90 minutes north of Chicago and we're, only about 5 hours away from Minneapolis, but and only like an hour away from Madison, which is the capital. But we are the biggest city in Wisconsin, and so we have all of these things, all of these amenities of a big city. A lot of people think Wisconsin and they think, farms and dairy and all of that stuff. That's more rural, right? But we have all of the amenities of a major city, and we really have all the access to of like being able to go to Chicago for things, or being able to go, and you can do a weekend if you're a band, you can do a weekend tour of Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago, and do that little loop, and maybe throw in if you're going to go up to Minneapolis or something like that, or the Twin Cities. So like yeah, I would say that we have a lot of small market mindset for a big city. But the thing about that that's nice is there's also everybody kind of knows everybody here, for good and bad reasons. If you're a really good act and you are going to turn some heads, you might get booked on one show and then get booked on like 10 others throughout the summer because they all know you, because everybody's seen you or has heard about you or something. Um, if you're bad, if you're doing something bad, everybody in Milwaukee finds out pretty quick. So that is the double-edged sword of that.
Right, the pros and cons. Everything has pros and
Mhm.
cons. Unfortunately, we wish it was all pros, but that's just how life works sometimes.
Right.
And so like when you were kind of starting out, did you think it would get to this point? Like, is this something that you always had your mindset on, that eventually this is how it's going to go? Or did, I mean, like, obviously we say there's twists and turns in every journey. And so, did things go exactly how you envisioned it when you were starting out, or like everything, did you kind of just go with the flow with the changes as they came at you?
Oh, I definitely had to go with the flow. This did not happen. Things for me did not necessarily go as planned to start. I went to South by Southwest in like 2015, 2014, something like that, like straight out of college, and thought, okay, I'm gonna, break my music website out to the world this way and get the word out, and people will just kind of discover us, and we're gonna do all this stuff and, really shine a national spotlight on Milwaukee. And that was not the case. That was very much not. But I have definitely, I think one thing I've really been strong about is adapting and growing, whether that's new technology or finding different ways to like get the word out about what I'm doing, or just even like being able to attract a little bit of attention outside of the city towards what Milwaukee is doing. And even within the city, being able to help, some of the established media connections out here find new acts. Like I've literally had people from larger entities tell me that they discovered bands by visiting Breaking and Entering. So in that sense, like that's a success for me.
That's fantastic. That's really good. And then you've made a difference, really. That's something that's good. It's being able to look at things and go, I in a way am responsible for this. I am in a way responsible for this person getting a start in their career. Do you have many people who you kind of look at maybe as influences, or people who you kind of are like, if it weren't for me, or sorry, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here? Do you have many people like that who come to mind?
Yeah, I think I certainly for me remember the people that give me opportunities. So I remember like right now we are in the middle of Summerfest, which is our biggest music festival. It goes 3 weekends long. Um, and I remember them giving me my first press pass. I still remember the person that did it. And so I'm forever thankful for them because then I felt like a real, media outlet from there. Felt like a real writer. Definitely remember, the first time that like my work was on like a national level, like shown in an article that I did, a review that I did showed up on a national thing. Like I'm forever like thankful for those kinds of things, right? And it's just a matter of what you do with those things to build on it. But yeah, as far as specific influences, I also look at like the business world, and I'm totally like a Gary Vee fan and watch all of that stuff. But I'm like, how do I take that and apply that to, what I'm doing?
This episode of the Corkin Entertainment Show is brought to you by Black Box Prompter. Are you a musician tired of being tethered to your tablet or music stand? Do you long to connect with your audience on a deeper level, but find yourself constantly glancing down at your lyrics and chords? Then I highly recommend Black Box Prompter, the smart and stealthy lyrics and chords teleprompter designed to liberate musicians from the stage clutter. This innovative device is perfect for bands, hobbyists jamming out in the garage, touring pros rocking arenas, and even houses of worship looking to elevate their services. It discreetly displays your lyrics and chords, allowing you to maintain eye contact with your audience, adding an extra layer of authenticity and connection to your performance. Don't let distractions hold you back. Unleash your full potential and create a more powerful connection with your audience with Black Box Prompter. Click the link in our episode description and use the promo code Corcoran at checkout for 10% off your purchase. Black Box Prompter, the smart teleprompter built for musicians by musicians. Yeah, exactly. And kind of make it your own journey. Uh,
hmm
does that often drive you nuts? Like we're talking about having your own journey and stuff. Does it drive you nuts when you hear of people who are starting out and they're like, well, I'm going to go this way because so and so did it this way and look how well things turned out for him? Like, does that make you angry when you hear people saying that they want to just like literally mimic some people's journeys and how they came up?
I will say the one thing that really kind of gets me, it doesn't necessarily get me angry, but it just annoys me is when people say, we're gonna make the Milwaukee version of this. So I've had people definitely say like, we're gonna do Milwaukee's Coachella, or we're gonna do Milwaukee's whatever. And I am fully a fan of influence, but make it your own and make something original out of it, I think I mean, leaps and bounds ahead of that. There are also so many artists that think that they are immediately going to get on and become famous with one song or with one thing. And it can happen, but the like 0.0001% that happens to more often than not doesn't also sustain that, right? So I think more than anything, I wouldn't necessarily get mad with people trying to mimic something, but I just hope that they at least take influence and are able to build on that and put their own spin on things.
And know what not to do if there's a
hmm
country artist, or if there's some sort of musician or actor who they admire, they do something terrible that gets them arrested. They're like, well, they did it and they turned out okay. Well, you're not them.
hmm
That's yeah, like
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. did this when he was younger. He was doing that, blah, blah. Well, you're not Robert Downey Jr. Don't
Yeah.
don't go by that.
Or like the Jay-Z, oh well, Jay-Z sold drugs and made money and then started his record company. Well, yeah, that's probably not a success route now, but back in the day might have worked, things like that. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Alan Halas sold drugs, and that's how he is the owner of Breaking and Entering.
Nope. No, 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 no. No, I
No,
think I'd actually be terrible at it, honestly. I'd be too nervous.
You be the you and I would be the type to get
I'd
pulled
totally out
over.
myself immediately. Yeah. Oh yeah.
We would
I'd
get
totally
pulled
out myself.
over and the cops would go license and registration. We would just be like, "There's no drugs in here. What are you talking about?"
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that would be me. I always say that if I was a drug dealer, I'd be caught in like the first day. Just I would be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
don't
right
trust me
away.
with any of that. Yeah. So any cops who are listening to this, if there's a drug deal going on in our town, or in either town, Milwaukee or here in New Brunswick, Canada, it's not us because
Not
yeah,
us. We are
we'll
the
tell
most
you
innocent. Yeah.
exactly. I'm Canadian, so we're nice people. Hey, um, that's sometimes the case.
Yeah.
It's really crazy to think too about all the different changes and stuff that's gone on with like everything's gone digital now too. It's such
Mhm.
a we're able to do so much. How has the change in technology and sort of the digital landscape, how has that helped you in your career?
It has certainly been at the forefront of what I do, and being able to scale things and do things a lot more efficiently. Like, for instance, we'll record an interview with somebody, and I almost mandate now that I get video of every interview that I do, basically, like with an artist, so that I can take that and use that for social media clips. And being able to do that, I mean, especially like with the AI stuff now, where you can clip it and it'll give you 30, usable Instagram videos right out of one interview. So like that in itself is like where my head is at of a lot of things is like how can we get do more with less? It is certainly helpful. I mean, music just in general being 99.9% digital, super helpful in the fact that I don't have a stack of CDs that I need to listen to or a stack of vinyls like behind me that I have to go listen to write something. I can pull up while I'm walking my dog somebody's album and learn about them or listen to them right before I go to interview them, right? Or I can hear them on a podcast and hear what they talk about and how they are as a person. So yeah, it's kind of critical to what I do now, and especially like learning new things as I go, how to scale that up too is super important.
How about like recording songs or like doing anything like
Oh
literally
yeah.
we live in a world where you could do it like I'm doing right now. I'm literally doing this from my bedroom slash office slash studio.
Yep.
At one
Yeah.
point, I would have thought like I have to rent out a space. I got to build a studio in some building, purchase some
Hmm.
building, rent out some building. No, we live in a day and age where this is a thing. I'm literally talking to you. If this was back in the day, I'd have to literally fly to Milwaukee just to
Yeah.
get this interview done. But it's such a different day and age now where I can talk to you no matter where we are. How has
Yeah.
that helped with like the recording process or like making songs and producing and stuff like that? Is it better to do it from home or is it better to do it in studio? Like how do you kind of see that?
I think every artist is pretty much different. I record all of like the radio and spoken stuff that I do from home. Absolutely. There are so many artists though that I work with. We do a beat battle, which is essentially think like 8 Mile, but instead of them rapping at each other, they play beats that they pre-made for each other. They all produce from home. Like all of them have home studios. They're probably making them on their laptop with some headphones. They're mixing themselves. They are, mastering their own stuff. And, some of them have an actual studio that they work out of, but it's no more than like a DIY space. It's not like professional grade, like, world class stuff that they're working with. Sounds absolutely world class though. Sounds like top tier, when you hear the final product, and they probably spent hours and hours and hours on it at home. But being able to do that, and also for them to be able to get up and just make a beat out of nowhere, right? Like being able to walk downstairs to your bedroom or to your spare room or whatever and make a song or make a beat and be able to rap and record your vocals and not have to pay for studio time. Like you make the investment in the gear, but I think it's the fact that people can do that now creates so much better of a final product because people aren't going to be rushed to make something. They can make it whenever they want to make it.
That's perfect too. Do you think the studios have kind of suffered from it? in the way of more people are doing their stuff from home now, so there's honestly no need for studios. I mean, not saying that there's never a need for studios anymore, but it's come to a point now where I'm going to record a song, but I don't have to rent out a studio and pay for studio time. I could just do it from home and stuff. How do you think that's kind of affects the studios that still do that stuff?
Well, I think it just actually really more than anything changes the energy about that. So I still go to a studio pretty regularly that a friend, produces his stuff out of. They have a studio, a second studio that's in the basement of that building that's been around since the 70s. And like literally when David Bowie came to Milwaukee, he recorded some stuff in that studio. But that's like a very professional space. His space is still his regular setup just in that. But I think the energy of being in a studio session is different because it doesn't feel like we have to do this in, 3 hours because we only paid for 3 hours. Now, like the whole process of demo and record and everything. Now people can make demos at home and say, this is what I'm going for. Take that to a studio, make the good version of that, and then, pay the right people to do the work to mix and master it. Whereas you had to rent out a studio back in the day to just rehearse it. You had to rent it to record a demo. You had to rent it to, record finally. So I think it's just really the energy and the mentality of a studio session now that people actually are able to go in and have a concept in mind and a good product that's a demo that they just make the best polished version of that possible.
That's really good. Are you self-taught in that way? Like, how did you kind of learn the whole art of like mixing and sound and stuff like that? Or do you still kind of leave that to others to do that?
For me, in my case, I went to college thinking I was going to be a music producer full time. I went to Marquette and I thought that I took a course. Well, my major was now they call it digital media, but it was broadcast and electronic communication with an emphasis in production. So I thought that I was going to go learn, techniques for studio stuff to be a music producer. And that was very much not the case. They were a video intensive program. I still dabbled with some music stuff on the side at that point. Um, but I was able to, like I learned the basics of how to, do a lot of things there. But really, I do everything off of a laptop and I'm able to, record I do a radio show that's on FM radio every Friday night. And it's recorded at my house on Monday. And I have no issues with it because I can learned it the hard way of trying and failing and eventually evolving a little bit. And in anything I don't know, I just have YouTube available, right? That I can learn a lot of it. So,
You could learn so much from YouTube. It's actually
mhm,
insane how much is on there and how much it's
mhm,
helped me too. Um, Even the other day, I was getting ready to sell something, and then last minute it almost wouldn't work. And so I had to
mhm.
look it up on YouTube real quick, and I said, "Okay, thank God for that. If I didn't have it, I would have been screwed." So thank God that
Yeah.
YouTube always comes in handy for that stuff. So working for being a full-time writer now for on Milwaukee,
hmm
and you were able to quit your full-time job and pursue on Milwaukee full-time. What were some of the fears, if any at all, that came with leaving jobs, something that you relied so heavily on for income and steady income and stuff. When you're
Yeah.
leaving that for something else, what are some of the fears, if you did have any at all?
Well, my first job in media that was a full-time job was I was hired during the pandemic. I left a marketing job at a bank, which was very solid and very secure. And I left it for the media industry where things are not always so solid. You never know what is going to happen month to month, right? With advertising and budgets and things like that to fuel what you do. So there was definitely a little bit of concern, like, am I making the right move? But I told myself initially when I made that jump, if I don't do this now, when am I ever going to do it? And that is kind of the thought that I had. It was the middle of the pandemic, and really, honestly, thankfully, has led me to a lot of bigger and better things. Has led me to On Milwaukee, where I still, work steadily there. And like, but there's definitely, you have your concerns like, what if this whole thing goes belly up, in a month, right? that could happen with anything, but especially when attention shifts to like, not being on websites or reading magazines. Like my that first job was a magazine. What if people just stop reading the magazine altogether and they only go digital? Like, how do you adapt and shift that? But it was definitely the sort of thing that I was like, well, this is the thing that I love doing. If I can find a way to do it and be scrappy about it, I can definitely go forward with it. So if not now, when, right?
That's a great way to put it. It's because people will always say all the time, even if it comes to not just things about career, or like career related, but even just yeah, someday I'm gonna go to Disney World, someday I'm gonna do this, someday I'm gonna go here and vacation here. Eventually, it comes to the point where if you don't do it now, when are you gonna do it? It's just do
Hmm.
it. And then that way you can look back on it and go, I'm glad I did this. In the moment, maybe it's maybe not stressful, but there's part of you going, I don't know if I want to go right now. I kind of want to wait, and
Hmm.
then that time doesn't come. Something happens. You're not able to. Life short, kind of soak it all in and everything. Um, and so I mean, working in music and stuff like that can be so uh time consuming and it's a lot of work to it.
Hmm.
Like how are you able to kind of balance like your work life balance? How do you manage that?
That's a really good question. I need to figure that one out every day. How do you balance work life stuff? There are some days where like it feels like it's work day to day, and up to from the moment I get up to the moment I go to bed, and I'll sit and be like, what did I do today? Right? Like, because you just constantly are working on things. But what I honestly take pride in is like I will stop myself sometimes at concerts and I'll look around and I'll be like, look, everybody else in this venue paid a lot of money to come be here. They took, this is their night out. For me, this is what I'm supposed to do to review this concert and get paid. And that is the job, right? Is having access to all of these things that otherwise that, everybody else's entertainment is my job. And to be able to say like, and I can still enjoy it, right? Like still be able to, go see bands that I like and pick and choose my assignments on things and more often than not. So it's a really comfortable kind of back and forth. There are definitely high stress moments, but that also comes with I think anything. And I would rather stress about like, oh man, is my interview with this band gonna work out? Instead of like, do I have to file this Excel document and send this off to a manager that I you know, don't really care about doing, right? I would rather do something that I care about. So that is the I guess the saving part of work-life balance. But I don't know. I don't necessarily find the most time for myself, and I don't take days off as much as I probably could. But when I do, I try to make sure that I at least get to enjoy at least the little parts of it. So trying to
Stop and
golf more.
smell the
I don't know.
roses.
Yeah,
Yes,
trying
golf
to
more.
golf more
Yes.
this year. So.
How have you managed with it? Have you done much golfing now this year or no?
I think I've gotten out two or three times. So a couple times with my wife, and then I'll conveniently find like a work golf outing where I gotta meet with somebody, but we're gonna meet on the golf course. Okay, that'll work. So find ways to enjoy the work, I guess, is the work-life balance for me right now, at least.
That's good, actually. That's really, really good. Yeah, golf courses, that's where all the big fancy business meetings happen anyway. That's normally where
Yeah,
all
that's what I
the
tell myself. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this just feels like even if it's not work related, you know, this makes me feel professional.
Yeah. And I will say too, I like going back to you talking about the technology before, like being able to schedule things out and pre-plan things like for me, it's a lot of social media posting and a lot of things like that. The more I've gotten efficient about doing that sort of thing, the more that has allowed me to like feel a little bit less stress and be able to, schedule myself to where all of these social posts are handled for, a week in advance. And I can go walk my dog. And if he wants to go another couple blocks, I'm not going to have to run home and be like, oh my God, we got to get this thing posted. So I'm learning it, but it's always a process.
Oh, absolutely. Much like everything, everything is always a process. But you've done
Hmm.
amazing with it. You've done amazing with all this stuff here, and I'm happy to see how the success that's been coming your way, the work that you've been putting into it. I think it's awesome. And definitely get out golfing more, man. That's something, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
enjoy that. Find those things that you really enjoy and go for it. Alan, this has been a great conversation. I've really, really had a blast with this. Thank you for coming on the show. If you kind of had to give like maybe one piece of advice for people who are pursuing any type of, maybe not necessarily in the music industry, but who are looking to start a new job, if they're looking to do just anything in general, but they don't know if it's a good idea, what advice would you give those people?
It's gonna sound really cliche, but I would say push yourself outside of the comfort zone sometimes when you can afford to, right? Whether that's like maybe taking on a little bit more work than you thought you were gonna, or being able to like trying something different. Like don't stop trying, don't stop learning is probably the biggest thing, right? There's definitely a lot of time that I just observe what is happening and figure out how do I put my own little spin on it or how do I get involved with it. Like I think that is just in general how you do your best work is being able to just keep learning and pick up things and take pieces from everything and put it all together into what you do.
That's perfect. That's a really really good piece of advice, Alan. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you on social media, website, and all that stuff?
Yeah, everything is just at Alan Halas on all of the social media. So ALLENHALAS on everything. I try to claim my name as fast as possible on stuff.
Perfect. Awesome. So you guys definitely be sure to go follow Alan. Thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on all your success and best of luck in all your future endeavors.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And let me know when you're in Milwaukee sometime.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe I'll book a flight today. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Uh,
There we go.
but thank you. I appreciate you extending the invite, I guess you could say. Guys, thank you all for listening to the show today. We will see you guys in the next episode. But until then, this is Frankie and Alan signing off. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Thanks.